Hello, and I want to welcome you to another exciting discussion on mathematics. Today we're going to discuss properties of real numbers. This is going to include the properties that entail what makes a real number a real number. Okay, to start, let's talk about the commutative property. Alright, there are two aspects of it. There are the aspects of addition and the aspects of multiplication. The addition part of the commutative property means that you can add two real numbers together and the order of the two will not affect the results. So abstractly we can write this as A plus B equals B plus A. And as you can see, it doesn't matter which way we add the two, we're still going to get the same result. Okay, and with multiplication, we could say something like A times B equals, as you might guess, just B times A. So with the commutative property, the order in which any two real numbers are multiplied or added does not change their sum or product. Okay, now let's take a look at some examples. Okay, we see here that 3 plus 5 is equal to just 5 plus 3, or if you look at it in the multiplication aspect, 3 times 5 is equal to, as you guess, 5 times 3. Let's do some hands-on exercises with the commutative property. So x plus 5, we can just change the order, so we'll have 5 plus x. And over here, 6 plus x, well, we can just rewrite that as x plus 6. Those are the examples for the multiplication aspect of the commutative property. For multiplication, we see x times 3. So let's just rewrite that as 3 times x. And for this one over here, 2 times x, you can just simply rewrite that as x times 2. Okay, now if we talk about the next property, the associative property. The associative property says that the way three numbers are grouped does not change their sum or product. So if we look at addition, we say we're going to have the numbers like up here with commutative, AB, we're going to have A, B, and C because we're going to deal with three numbers. So with addition, we can say that the grouping of A plus B plus C is equal to A plus the grouping of B plus C. And that just makes sense because addition does not change the way two things would add together because they're going to add together anyways. Multiplication, on the other hand, would look something like this. The grouping of A times B times C is equal to, and we just change the grouping order of A times the grouping of B times C. And as we can, if we were to plug real numbers in, it will in just a second, that this order will not change the actual outcome of what you're going to get whenever you do the operation of adding or multiplying. So if we look at this example for the addition aspect of the associative property, 5 plus the grouping of 4 plus 6, if we just rewrite that the grouping of 5 plus 4 plus 6, and as you can see that these two quantities here on both sides of the equal sign are going to be equal. The grouping or the parentheses are just an aspect of the associative property. And over here for this bottom example, this is the aspect of multiplication. Negative 1 times 2, that grouping times 5 would be equal to just, we just change the order of this grouping. We'd have negative 1 times the grouping of 2 times 5 in that group. And as you can see, the order does not the order changes, the grouping does, but the actual outcome will not be affected. Okay, the next aspect we need to discuss for properties of real numbers includes the distributive property over multiplication and addition. This is going to take what we just learned and combine it together. So we see that there's a grouping here, B plus C, that's inside this group, this set of parentheses, but there's an A outside. What's really happening here is saying that we need to take this A and distribute it across everything inside that grouping. So what a way of saying this or writing it is like take this A, multiply it by what's in here, and multiply it by what's over there. So when we do that, we're just going to get that A times B. Just write that as AB. Okay, and then we're going to have plus, and then A times C. Okay, and now let's do a few examples of using this distributive property using real numbers and variables. So we have this 2 right here in front of the parentheses x plus y. What we want to do is take this x and multiply it by each piece inside the parentheses. So we're going to say 2 times x, so we'll just write 2x. Then we'll write our sign that looks like a positive or plus. Okay, and then let's say 2 times y. So what we did was just use an example of using the distributive property over multiplication and addition. Okay, now this next one has some negatives, so we're going to be a little bit more careful than we were before. So let's say a negative 5, distributing it across everything inside the parentheses. So a negative 5 times a negative 3 okay, and then a negative, let's put a positive because our plus, and a negative 5 times 2z. And I think we're going to be able to simplify our answer a little bit more, because negative 5 times negative 3, that's just going to give us a positive 15, because a negative times a negative gives us a positive, and then 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, and then if we look over here, negative 5 times 2z. So a negative times a positive is a negative. And then 5 times 2 is 10. And let's just bring that z right there. So 15 minus 10z is our answer. Okay. The next important aspect of properties of real numbers are the identities for addition and multiplication, and the additive and multiplicative inverses. First, let's talk about the identities for addition and multiplication. The goal for inverses is to end up where we started, or if we get an A in the beginning, we want to get an A in the end. So for addition, we're just going to add 0, because if you add 0 to anything, you still get what you started with. So it's kind of like looking in a mirror. You're going to look for your identity, and you want to get the other side of the equal sign. Say this is your mirror. So adding 0, A plus 0, you get A. Okay, and then the same way for multiplication. Look at that equal sign as a mirror. You want to go from what's over here and look at yourself over on the right side of the equal sign. So for multiplication, you multiply anything times 1, you get anything back. So A times 1, you get A. Okay, now for the additive and multiplicative inverses. For this, you're just trying to get, for addition, you're trying to get to 0. While multiplication, you're trying to get to 1. And for addition, you have to add the positive plus its negative equivalent. So like 4 plus negative 4 would give you 0. Okay, b times 1 over b gives you 1. Or if you said 4 times 1 over 4, or that fraction 1/4, you get 1.